Hello reviewers, previewers and other media people. We're going to run through Hand of Fate Ordeals while we put some polish into the rulebook, and we'll go through the key concepts and an example turn so that you have a good foundation on how to play the game. So we're going to start with the board setup. So starting at the top, we have the Poor Fortune cards. These are also known as, when you gain a curse during the game, this is where they come from, the Poor Fortune cards. And they're just junk cards, they junk up your deck. These are pain cards. During the game, you will potentially take pain, and pain is just generally a bad thing that happens. When you're told to take a pain, you reveal a card. It could be to lose some food, it could be to lose some health, or it could be to gain a curse. Next we have the Royals. We have the Jack, the Queen and the King, and these are the Royals that you'll be encountering during the game. Each Royal has 4 different suits: Dust, Skulls, Scales and Plague. Now that the art on the for some of these is not complete yet, so you'll see some duplicate King of Skull artwork. But just divide up the Queen, the King and the Jack into their 4 suits and place them here face down. Next we have the encounter location cards, and these are divided up into 3 sets: the Jack, the Queen and the King, and you can tell which belongs to which set based on the tier dot on the top of each card. So you can see the Queen is tier 2 cards, and the King tier 3 cards. So the way these are set up is they're just split out into their tiers. We like to put the actual Royal Encounter card just on top of that stack, just to make it a bit easier when you're setting up the level, which we'll go through shortly. Next we have the minion cards over here. Again, they match the suits of the Royals: Skulls, Scales, Dust and Plague, and there's 1 through 4 value of each of the minions. These simply just go in a deck shuffled over here, and you can place the King of Skulls on top of the King deck. Moving down, the central area is where players move around and reveal encounters. They always start at the town, which is a fixed location here. Around the edges of the encounter area is the fame tracker. Each player has a coloured marker, and as they earn fame, they'll move their marker around the track. So moving down the board, we get to the bottom section where you have token shards. So just place all the token shards into the wooden dish down the bottom. We have the dealer's row, which has 6 cards from the market deck, and these are the cards that players will acquire during the game to feed into their deck and to improve it. As players purchase cards from the market, from the dealer's row, you immediately replace cards. Next to that we have flourish cards. Flourish cards are a slightly better version of the base card that's in your base deck, and these can be purchased anytime at the end of a player's turn from anywhere. There's no restrictions on purchasing these, and they always cost 3. And lastly is the Demon Trader's Relic deck. The Demon Trader is a special place players can visit after defeating Royals, and they have just better armor and weapons. Okay, so I will now have a look at our player board. Every player starts with 10 cards. They have 2 forage cards, 1 hack card and 7 strive cards. Forage cards are the way that players can accumulate food, at least the basic cards. There's better versions of forage cards in the market deck. Strive is a generic effort card, but also can be used as an attack during combat. And hack is an attack card, and attack cards get attached to your weapon. So players will have always have a hand of 5 cards. It's standard deck building rules. And they're able to use forage cards, or they play cards to gain food, and they can use strive cards and other cards with this yellow triangular symbol to earn effort. Effort allows them to purchase from the market. So we'll go through that shortly. On a player's character board, they also have a space to place token shards. Let's just sit here. An area for food. They have a health tracker, which starts at 10 and proceeds down to 0, at which point they are dead. And there's central areas where players will place their equipment. So as they purchase equipment from the dealer's row, weapons always replace the rusty axe, and other gear is just placed on the board. So for instance, a helmet placed to this top section. You can have another piece of equipment here, you have armor here, and offhand, which is a shield over here. Alright, so now that the encounters are set up, we'll go through a couple of example turns. So to begin with, all players need to shuffle their starter deck and deal out 5 cards as their starting hand. An area just nearby their player board should be considered the played area, and that's where any cards in their turn will be put. Anything that's at the end of the turn, normal deck building rules, everything goes into the discard, whether it's been used or not. So for this first turn, I've got 4 strive cards and a hack card. So hack being an attack card, I can attach this to my weapon. Now if we just have a closer look at weapons themselves, you'll see that there's two important parts to any weapon. The top bit is how many attacks you can stack to that weapon. In this case, the rusty axe allows you to stack 2 attack cards. The second part is to do with combat. So anytime you enter combat, this is the number of cards you reveal from your deck, which can then be used as part of combat, which we'll go through shortly. So next I have 4 strive, which equates to it's effort. So this is what I'll be able to use to purchase things if I so desire. So moving over to the encounters, I'm the green mini. So I can make a decision. I could use some food and move, or I could purchase. And the last thing, the moment that you engage in an encounter or purchase, that's the end of your turn. Basically, you can't move anymore or encounter anymore. So for the sake of this example, I'm going to use the food, which I don't actually have. But let's for a moment assume that I had some food. I'm going to spend that food to move. So I want to go up to here. So the moment that you move to a face down encounter, you flip it over, and this could be a few different types of encounters. In this instance, it's an event. There's other types, ambushes and combats. On the encounter card itself, there's some important information. Specifically, there's the coloured tabs down the side, which I'll explain in a moment, and these circles on the bottom. The circles represent the number of times an encounter can be used. So when it's revealed for the first time, if it has those circles, just put some crystal tokens on there. So now as the player, I get to choose whether I want to engage with this encounter or not. Specifically, this reads, I can discard a token shard. That's the symbol for token shard. You may buy a card from the dealer's row for 1 effort less. Given that I shouldn't technically have any token shards, I'm not going to actually engage with this encounter. Players don't start with any token shards or any food. So I'm not going to worry about this. However, I am going to choose to now purchase from the dealer's row. Now these tabs on the side indicate what types of cards you can acquire from the dealer's row, specifically Trickster, Adventurer and Warrior cards. So on some encounter cards you'll see that all the colours aren't present. So for instance on the Maiden you could only purchase Adventure cards, which are the green cards. Crossroad Ambush you would only be able to purchase Warrior cards. Now provided there's at least one coloured tab, you can always purchase equipment and weapons. So I'm now going to use my Force Drive and see what I can purchase from the market. I could purchase most things actually, however I'm going to look at upgrading my weapon. So I'm going to purchase the Hearn's Hatchet, which is 4 effort, which I have exactly the right amount for. So anytime you purchase equipment or weapons, they go straight to your character. They don't go into your discard. As opposed to non-equipment cards, so actions and attacks. If I were to purchase any of these cards, they would go directly to my discard pile instead of onto my character or into my hand. Alright, so now I've spent my 4 strive. I've got my Hearn's Hatchet. I don't have any more effort that I can spend. So that is effectively the end of my turn. The cards that were in my played area now go into my discard. And it'll proceed clockwise to the next player. So a few turns have gone by and we're going to come back to my character, who's a little bit more geared up. I've got a weapon, a helmet, a shield, some token shards. Players have been moving around the encounters and it's now back to me to have my turn. So in my hand I have a forage, so that's really useful. So I'm going to take the food because in this turn I want to actually be able to move. So with food is your currency for movement. Anytime you move you have to spend 1 food token. If you don't have food but you still want to move, you can, but you take health instead of food. So I've also got a Destructive Rampage, which I'm going to attach to my weapon. And you know you can attach things to your weapon because it has this red line that carries through. And I have 3 strives, which are useful if I want to go and purchase something. So now I want to go and explore. So I've just finished the Twisted Canyon. I'm going to move over here and see what this is. So it's the Dead Man's Gorge. I'll first of all put use tokens on it. And Dead Man's Gorge, it's a combat card and it states to draw 2 minions. Now it's not an ambush card, so I don't have to encounter this card if I don't want to. However, I'm feeling pretty good about my character. I can do a little bit of damage. I've got a few cards in my deck which are really going to help me. So I am going to engage with this encounter. So start by removing one of the shards to show, the crystals to show that I have actually used this. And we're going to go into a combat phase. So the first thing that happens in a combat is if we go back over to our weapon, we have to get ready for combat. And that's where this second symbol comes into play, which is to draw 2 cards from my deck, which I'll now do. So I've drawn a Strive and I've drawn a Forage. So Forage is no use to me during combat, so that's just a wasted card. Strive, on the other hand, I can actually put that on my weapon. You'll notice that it has a little red starburst on the corner of the effort token. Now it's not an attack card, so you normally can't attach this to your weapon. However, because it has this little symbol here, it means I can use it as part of my weapon's attack power. So now that my weapon is ready to go and I'm battle ready, we have to now engage with the combat. So we reveal the 2 minions. So having a quick look back at my weapon, we'll see that I now have a total of 4 attack power. So I can deal 4 damage to minions. So I'm really hoping that I don't draw out anything more than 4 in power, otherwise it's going to make my life a little bit difficult. So the minions are a 1, okay, so that's good for me, and a 4, which is less good for me. That's right, so we'll work through combat. So the way you deal damage is you assign cards to enemies, not specific damage to enemies. So although I can do 4 in total, I need 5 to be able to kill these off. So I probably would prefer to get rid of the 4 because he's going to deal me more pain. So any enemy that you can't defeat during combat, it has a number on the bottom right corner, which is the pain that you'll take for not being able to defeat the enemy. So I'm going to assign all 4 of my damage to the 4 of dust. So these cards are assigned, and the damage from my weapon is now assigned as well. So that kills off the 4 of dust, so that's good for me. So as a reward for defeating him, I'll get 3 fame and 2 token shards. There's also an effect on this particular minion. If you defeat this minion, gain the token reward twice for one other minion you defeated. Now unfortunately I didn't defeat any other minions, so this actually doesn't apply to me in this situation. So he's now done, so I'll place him over in the discarded minions pile, and we'll move on to the skull. Now I don't have any damage left that I can assign to the 1 of skulls, so I have 2 options at this point. I can either flee, basically, you know what, I can't beat this guy, I'm just going to leave. I would take the pain value, 1 pain card, if I did that, and that would be the end of my turn. The other option is to push on, and pushing on involves spending a food, drawing 1 more card to your weapon in hopes that you can find enough attack power to actually defeat the minion. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend my food. Also when you push on, you must take a pain card. You take 1 pain card, so which I'll do as well. And I lose 1 health for pushing on. So now I'm ready to push on. I reveal 1 more card. So thankfully it's a strive card, which gives me 1 more attack, which I can then assign to the 1 of skulls, which I'll do, and that kills the 1 of skulls. So I've managed to defeat all the minions. I gain my 1 fame by moving my fame track token around the track, and thankfully I defeated this minion. If I didn't manage to kill him, I would have gained a curse. So he's now done. The cards that I used as part of my combat are done. At the end of my turn, I can now choose to go to the market, to the dealer's row. I can purchase warrior cards with the effort that I have. I have 3 effort. I could purchase Ruinous Blow, which I will do. So I'll spend the 3 effort, goes into my discard, and that's the end of my turn. Alright, so a few more turns have gone by. All the encounters have been revealed, with 1 still to be revealed, and obviously this is going to be the Jack. So we'll run through how to encounter the Jack. Players, if they move onto the Jack's space and it's revealed, this is an ambush card, so the player that reveals the Jack has to encounter the Jack. They don't get a choice. So, but subsequently, if a player moves onto the Jack that's already revealed, they don't actually have to encounter the Jack. They can choose whether or not to encounter. So, first things first, we'll go over how the Jack card works. So, similar to an enemy card, it has a pain value in the bottom right, a fame value for defeating this royal, an attack. This is how much damage you have to assign to this royal to defeat it. And this symbol here is the total value of minions that this Jack will bring with it during combat. So to get ready for the fight, we start by revealing minions until we have at least 3 value worth of minions or more. So we'll reveal cards. So he's bringing along a 2 of Plague. So we need to reveal more because we've only got 2 so far. And a 3. So that's a total of 5. Obviously is more than 3. Unlucky for this player, they have to defeat 5 worth of minion before they can get to the Jack. So the normal combat rules apply at this point. The player must defeat minions first before they can assign damage to the Jack. And otherwise combat is exactly the same. So if they are only able to defeat 1, they can choose to flee or push on in exactly the same way they would with a normal combat. At the point at which they've been able to assign damage to all minions and only the Jack is left, they can then assign damage to the Jack. If they defeat the Jack, the level is complete. So at that point, one more important thing happens. The player can choose to visit the Demon Trader. So if they have 5 token shards, they can go and visit the Demon Trader. The Demon Trader reveals 3 items, we call them relics, and the player can take one of those. And they're all equipment. This entire deck is equipment and weapons. So if whatever they take, it goes straight to their character. Relics do not leave a character's board if they die, unlike everything else. And once the player has shopped at the Demon Trader, the board is reset, so all the Jack cards are scooped up, the players are returned to town, and then the new level is set with the Queen. Alright, so we're at a point where the King has been defeated. We're going to move on to endgame scoring and just explain how that works. So obviously players have been moving around the fame track as they've been killing minions and so forth. So there's one last step that has to be taken into account, and that's the player's deck. So everything that they've acquired during the game is generally worth some fame value. So all the cards, it's a simple matter of locating all the fame value cards. Basic cards, which your deck started with, are not worth anything. So all they have to do is just add up all those values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And then move the appropriate number around the board. So 32 and 8 is 40. And the player with the ultimate highest amount of fame is then the winner. Alright, so now that we've played the game, we're just going to recap a few things, a few important parts to remember. Movement, movement always costs 1 food to move between encounters. You can still move if you don't have food, but instead it costs you 1 health. Moving on to the dealer's row. Whenever you purchase from the dealer's row, new cards are immediately revealed to replace it. Depending on where you are on the map, dictates the kind of cards you can purchase from the dealer's row. You can always purchase equipments and weapons from the dealer's row, and you can always purchase flourish cards no matter where you are for 3. Purchasing from the dealer's row is the last thing you'll always do in your turn, and once you've done that, your turn ends. Moving on to your character. So death, if you die during the game, as in your health gets to 0, all your equipment and any attached attacks fall off your character. They go into your discard. Any food is discarded, and your player returns to town, and that's the end of your turn. Attaching cards to your weapon, you can only ever attach attacks that have the red line that follows through. During your turn, you can't attach cards that have the little attack icon. unless they are revealed as part of combat. And I think that just about covers it.